McInnis, myself, and our insider, Rob Braley. Yeah. Man, I actually got it right. It normally is 98%. Welcome, guys, to WagerTalk TV. Happy Wednesday, everyone. This is Two and Out, the CFL preview show found only here on WagerTalk TV. Andrew McInnis, myself, and our insider, Rob Braley, returns again this week to give us the lowdown of what is going on in Hamilton. A quick congratulations to Andrew, and let's bring Andrew in. Andrew, 5% winner in the CFL this past weekend, an easy one, I think, and you got another one loaded. Week two, quickly. Any surprises in week two, or did everything go true to the form you thought it would?
Yeah, thanks, Carm. Good to be here with you guys. Look, week three already here. It's crazy to believe we're already going into the third week of the season. But week two, I'll tell you what, week two really is going to put us in a position to make money, I think, in the future weeks because there's going to be lots of overreacting. You know, we saw Calgary start things off by getting back on track and defeating the Ottawa Red Blacks. Their defense looked much better. The Red Blacks didn't even get one passing touchdown. And Calgary played their best game so far of the season. And then we saw Winnipeg just walk all over Saskatchewan, putting up 45 points against them. They are a dangerous offense, but their secondary surprises me a little bit there. Saskatchewan still able to get 27. BC shuts out the Edmonton Elks. They win that one 22-0. But I think Rob would agree the biggest storyline of the weekend out of all of those things is Chad Kelly and the Toronto Argos, the defending Grey Cup champions. For some reason, the league decides to give them a bye in week one. Most leagues start with the champions playing. They had the champions playing the last game of the season, or the last team to play their first game. And Chad Kelly runs for 3 rushing touchdowns, has a great performance in his first game as QB1 with the Argos, and they take down the Hamilton Tiger Cats. So I'm looking forward to week 3, Carm. I think that a lot of things kind of went as expected in week 2. And I think it just goes to show it's one of those weeks where you just do not want to overthink it. You know, teams like Winnipeg got the job done. The bookmakers did not seem to make that line big enough on BC. They shut down the Elks. They don't even get 1 point. So it was a good week 2. Cashed my 5% play and looking forward to week 3.
Yeah, I caught the and I'm an Argo fan, so I'm pretty happy about that win over the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and an easy one at that. And I caught some of the Elk game on the tube. I was at the Ed Sheeran concert, believe it or not, on Saturday night. A guest of our guest on today's show, which is Rob Braley. So I thank him for treating my wife and I to the concert, which was absolutely phenomenal. But Andrew, I want to get to the market mover. Each and every week, we'll start the show off with our intro, but then we go to the market mover, and you've got a game, and I'm interested to find out which game that is this week as far as your market mover goes. So right back to you.
Yeah, Carm, looking right now at Toronto and Edmonton, I'm seeing -6.5 for the road team here. Like I said, Toronto off a big performance. Chad Kelly played very well. The running game was working very, very well. And we're seeing the total sitting at 44.5. And this is what I will tell you. I'm expecting more and more money to come in on this Argos team. If you do like Toronto in this spot, I do suggest getting down on them as fast as you possibly can. If you want to go ahead and look for the home team to keep things close, to bounce back after that rough effort, I would wait all the way up until game time to get that best number you possibly can on the home team, on the Edmonton Elks, plus the points. Now, as far as the total, I really see this one trending towards the under. I see a lot of money coming in slowly on that one. I see the number moving throughout the week closer to game time. Not as much movement this week in the CFL compared to weeks 2 and week 1, of course, but kind of predicting where I see some of this movement. I'm looking to think that if you like the over in this one, you probably can wait till game time or closer to the weekend to get down. But if you like the under, I'd bet that one as fast as you can.
All right. And it's hard to take an over right now with any game involving the Elk. They've through two games this season, they've scored a total of 13 points. Not a lot of great offense coming out of that team, and that's something that we're going to discuss um, with our insider. So let's bring him in. Rob Braley, welcome to the show again. For anyone watching the show, you can follow Rob on Twitter at Rob_Braley. Um, he's a good follow, so follow him along. He posts some random CFL stuff, which is always good. There's a lot of accounts, Rob, that talk about stats, that talk about numbers, but you bring a different feel to, especially to this show, just because of the people that you know and the conversations that you have throughout the week. And one of those has to do with what I want to ask you right now. So, first of all, welcome to the show, Rob. Thank you once again for being a great host on Saturday. And please, once I throw it to you, tell us what is going on in Hamilton, the state of affairs.
Well, thanks, Carm, for having me again. This is week 3. Yeah, it was a great show Saturday. We saw the girls watched Ed Sheeran and the guys watched the football game on the screen in the box, so it worked out good for everybody. And we watched Edmonton BC just obliterated them. Edmonton got nothing going, but Hamilton seems to be having the same problems, getting nothing going on either side of the ball. And there's a couple ways you got to look at this. When teams have problems like Hamilton it's not just the guys on the field. It starts up top and like I said, it flows downhill. In my opinion, Hamilton has a big accountability problem in their head office. Orlando Steinauer is the president of football operations. Orlando Steinauer is the coach of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Now, normally a president and a coach are two completely different skill sets. The president's job is more of a long-term visionary, keep the team competitive for as long as we can, always be in it, always have a chance. Whereas the coaching mindset is, let's win this week, let's win this week. Like right now, we got to win, we got to win. And sometimes they conflict each other and they don't work well together. So I'm going to briefly break down Hamilton's organizational chart, which to me is it's mind blowing. I don't know how they function completely. Like Orlando's the president. And now we have underneath Orlando, we have 3 assistant general managers, 3. You got Zimmerman, Hervey, and Alamang. But there really isn't a general manager. So how can these guys be assistant general managers when there's no general manager? Which means to me there's probably 4 guys with their hands on the steering wheel driving the bus. And that never, ever works out well. And under Steinauer as the head coach, who should be reporting to the GMs, he's not. He's reporting to himself. He also has 2 assistant head coaches, which doesn't make any sense to me. So if Orlando gets thrown out of a game or can't make it, whatever, he's got 2 assistant head coaches, and you really should only have 1, in my opinion. All right, and then you got an Scott Milinovich, a special assistant to the president. So there's another voice that's active in making decisions. So you got 5 different guys trying to stay on the same page, and it's almost impossible. Like, it is impossible. So I think this is what's flowing onto the field, a lack of accountability, maybe. There's all kinds of ways you can look at this, but it's just a one messed up organization, in my opinion.
This reminds me of my childhood, Rob. Growing up, my dad working construction, and it's literally like he's doing the work, and you got about 11 different laborers standing around watching him do the work. It is there's a phrase for it. I won't use it, but we see it normally with road construction. One guy doing all the work, and everyone else having a coffee and a cigarette, standing around supervising that job. Rob, it essentially this is a big game. We joked around about week 1 and watching. I watched the CFL preview show that said that the Edmonton Saskatchewan game might be the biggest game of the year, and I thought to myself, it is a 20-week season. How is this week one game the biggest game of the season? But this might be the biggest game of the season for the Hamilton Tiger Cats as a short favorite at home against Montreal, and we'll see that number later on in our Inside the Numbers segment. But you have to believe they don't want to start 0-3 this season. They could pretty much bury themselves before the season's even started.
Exactly. The money is coming in on Montreal by the looks of it. I think the line has gone from Hamilton 2.5 to Hamilton 1. Hamilton, we know, everybody knows they just lost Bo Levi Mitchell for an extended period of time. My guess with a groin or quad, whatever they're calling it, is probably 3 to 4 weeks. Unfortunately, I believe this is a good thing for Hamilton. When I was watching the Toronto game, and I watched it pretty closely, I watched Bo Levi just moving the ball slowly and making passes, making mistakes. And then when Schultz came in, it's like somebody sped my TV up. His balls had far more zip on them. He was hitting receivers. He was right on the money. He was more poised in the pocket. He just looked like a much better quarterback to me. Mind you, I mean, Toronto was playing a bit of a soft prevent defense, but still, he was right on target. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think he went 13 of 14, and they got the late touchdown. I mean, it didn't help the over yet, but anyway, it looked like a much more efficient offense with him in the game.
It definitely did. So it'll be a surprise. And you discussing the numbers that are moving. We're going to get into the next thing I want to talk about, which was the week 2, a couple games that where the line really moved. And we talk about CLV, that closing line value, and it's something that we'll talk to Andrew about as well too. But you had a couple games, and you look at one of them was the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and Saskatchewan Roughriders, and that opening number really did move. We got on that one early, and we're on the right side of it. And one game, which I wanted to discuss with you about closing line value as well too, maybe you can comment on, was the Hamilton Toronto one. Toronto opened as a 3-point favorite and closed as a 2.5-point dog in that game. And all I can do is repeat your words, which were, I don't understand who is betting this number and why they're betting this number, but that's the wrong side to be betting on. Thoughts on that CLV last week, and then I'll get thoughts from Andrew as well too.
We're going to talk about the Argos for the third time, so I found it. I'd get my Argo hat out of the closet and wear it for you.
I like it.
Anyway, the line moved from, I guess it was a 5-point swing, at least, from 2.5 one way to 2.5 the other way. It's one of those things where I think people were betting on a must-win situation, which is not a good thing to bet on. We've talked on every Wager Talk show, when they talk about must-win situations, must-win is because the team is not performing well on the field. So betting on must-win teams is crazy. It's just a bad concept. It's a loser. And we knew Toronto was a better football team. We didn't know Chad Kelly was as good as he played, and he played lights out. I knew he was going to play well. I had some conversations with people. So this guy is the real deal. He's going to be a great CFL quarterback as long as he stays healthy and doesn't get hurt. I mean, he took a lot of hits in that game, and he was the short yardage quarterback for 3 touchdowns, which is ridiculous. And I saw a tweet or a message from his uncle Jim said, "Chad, don't get hit so much when you're playing, and you'll be fine." So I think Toronto moving forward is definitely a buy-on team, and I'm still selling Hamilton.
Yeah, and Andrew, I want to talk to you because you talked to Rob, and then it got back to me real quickly. When the lines came out, you said jump on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers at this price against Saskatchewan, and that line did move up. I think it closed at least a touchdown, if not more, and opened at 3.5. And we talk about the volatility of the lines in the CFL, and if you can get on the right side and get them on early, which is why, Andrew, with you at Wager Talk, people should be grabbing the CFL season, should be grabbing those 1 week all accesses. The minute you get those lines, and you pump them out, people are grabbing the value right off the bat. But that Winnipeg one, you were bang on that one, Andrew.
Sometimes you just have to get it in. I mean, you see a number and it just surprises you right away, and you don't want to think twice about it, or you hear about an injury with a player, a key defensive player, quarterback, and you immediately want to jump and just get that best price. Now, before I say anything about that, though, I want to make something very clear. I tweeted about this yesterday. There's kind of a mixed bag of two things. Number one is that I will never release a play or a line that everybody cannot bet. You know, I want to make sure that everybody's going to be able to get these numbers. You know, I'm tired of hearing about this number that was available for 20 minutes in every sport that only two handicappers were able to bet, but they released to their clients, but their clients couldn't get that number. I'll refuse to do that. And it's something that's really important to me is the numbers that I am betting. I want my clients to be able to bet that number as well. But having said that, you're right. I mean, anybody on my CFL season pass, anybody buying the week passes, they're getting those updates right to their phone, right to their email, and they're getting those in right away. And I think there's something to be said, and I'm sure both you guys would agree with me with every sport in this, that the CLV is great, but you don't want to miss your spot, right? Like if a team opens up -3 in the hook and they go all the way up to -6, you have to ask yourself, do you still want that team? At what point has the number gotten too big that you've missed your opportunity? And realistically, even if that team ends up winning by 7, was that a good bet to make? And you know, that's to me is the biggest question you want to think about and ask yourself. It reminds me a lot of the stuff that Gianni the Greek says, right? Getting in on that great number, that best number you possibly can. If you miss the window, you're kind of on to the next one. And I'm kind of finding that myself with the CFL, how important it is to get that really good number. And a lot of people in the CFL love to follow the money. The money seems to be right a lot of the time, but again, the movement we see in the CFL is more than any other sport. That sometimes if you see the points move several points, you might have just missed your opportunity. And Carmine, I tell this story every football season with the NFL. The one tip I give to new recreational sports bettors, especially with football, is you can't be just betting on game day, right? Every Sunday during the NFL year, one of my group chats with all my friends, it's 10 minutes until game time, and they're texting everybody saying, what are the bets? What are you guys all betting? And I'm laughing because I made my best bets 3 or 4 days before the actual game, right? You know how that goes. So it's really important to get to the best of the number. But I think a point I really wanted to make today was that if you've missed that really good number, it's okay to stay off and potentially even look to bet something in game. Rob and I have been talking on Twitter during the games and texting about certain in-game opportunities. And I think it's just as important to get that good number as it is to know when you might have missed it as well.
No, Andrew, and I agree, and that's what I like about you is that you're getting the number out, number one, but you're also putting in parameters, letting people know at this point, do not play this game because all the value is gone, which is the way to go. But speaking of value, Rob, I'm going to throw right back to you. With the week 3 openers, and with what happened in week 2. Uh, what are your thoughts on overreaction with some of the numbers? You look at some of the games, and again, Hamilton opens as a favorite. Oh, they're 0-2 now. You look at the Eskimos. Sorry, the Elk. My apologies again. The Elk, and this is a team that has scored 13 points over 2 games, but they're almost a full touchdown underdog at home. Are any of these overreactions to week 2?
One overreaction, I think it might be Winnipeg. Um, Saskatchewan and Winnipeg played a high-scoring game last week. I expected Saskatchewan to after a very, very short week, 3 days rest, 5 days between games, to come out and be absolutely flat. And they were able to move the ball really successfully on Winnipeg's defense. So I have Winnipeg's defense probably in the middle of the pack, or maybe even slightly to the bottom side. And I think BC is going to be able to expose this defense. their offense is their offense. I mean, they're going to put up points. They're going to put up points on anybody. But I think defenses on the road travel better. And I think BC is going to give them a heck of a football game. And if you're getting 6.5, I think you got to take the points there. And with Toronto, I think what did Toronto open up at 4.5, and it went right to 6.5, I believe. I'm surprised this line isn't over 7. I'm surprised it hasn't crossed 7. And if it does cross 7, it's a pass for me. But right now at 6.5, I don't see how the Argos don't cover that game. So maybe there's an overreaction, maybe there's an underreaction. I think the books still have some faith in Edmonton for some reason, but I can't bet Edmonton.
And Andrew, before I throw it to you, Rob, you did mention the BC Lions and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as one of the games. Please tell me that you wore your BC Lions Grey Cup ring. Are you wearing that? Is it around?
This is the 2011. Is that zooming in?
Oh, there it is.
Am I off there a little bit?
There it is. Yeah. There it is. You're on the full screen there.
Okay,
you got it. Yeah. All right. That's Andrew. I know you're not wearing a Halifax Grey Cup ring, but and I don't have an Argos one. Although they did give out replicas to the first 10,000 fans of the Grey Cup ring this past Sunday. But after Saturday night's concert, I needed to sleep in on Sunday. Andrew, overreactions as far as week 3.
Yeah, I agree with Rob. I think that, look, I'll just say this. I'll keep it very short, Carm. In the NFL, I like to look towards underdogs early in the season. In the CFL, the first few weeks, I've noticed these favorites. I don't think that the bookmakers realized how big of favorites they probably should be. But it gets to a point once you get to week 3, 4, and 5, where I'm starting to pick my spots with the underdogs. You know, looking at last week, BC against Edmonton, those two teams are in complete different leagues, right? You take a look at the game with Calgary and Ottawa even. That was one bad performance in week 1 for Calgary against a really good BC team. And all of a sudden, it's a short number for Calgary against Ottawa, and they take them down. So I think it's important for us in general to realize which teams are underachieving, which teams are overachieving, and which teams it's going to take a while for the bookmakers to adjust with, you know. And that's why I mentioned off the top there with the Argos, with the market mover. I do expect them to potentially keep going and getting that a bigger number. So if anybody likes the Argos now, you probably want to bet on them, because until proven otherwise, people are going to want to continue to fade the Elks. And Carm, like you mentioned, why wouldn't they? I mean, what have the Elks done to prove to anybody they deserve anybody's respect? But it is kind of an overreaction week in the CFL, and hopefully we can make some money with it.
All right. Sounds good. Getting into the inside, the numbers, just to have a quick look at the numbers for week 3. These are over at DK, and you can see them up on the board. We've got the Bombers at -6, the Ticats, the 0-2 Ticats at -2 right now. The Stampeders -3.5 over the Rough Riders, and the Argos -6.5. And that one could hit 7 before game time on Sunday. Andrew, I want to go to the extra point here, and you're going to talk about one of these 4 games. So tell us what you have on the extra point.
Yeah, for the extra point, first and foremost, I do have my 5% play going here in week 3 in the CFL, fresh off a winner last week and looking to repeat it. Found a great spot here for this week. The extra point wager, I'll keep things short and simple with this one. Rob and you, Carmine, already touched on this game, but I'm looking at Hamilton. I'm looking at Hamilton against Montreal. This to me is an old-fashioned handicapping tool. When a quarterback gets injured, when a key player gets injured, the instant gut reaction for people is to go against that team, to bet against them, to think that they're a complete failure. And that's where I am, right there, knocking on the door, ready to bet on that team. You know, it might have been prevent defense. It might have been late in the game. But when Matthew Schultz got into the game, he seemed a hell of a lot more confident. His arm seemed stronger. and he was actually more comfortable leaving the pocket. Now, this Hamilton team hasn't had the best schedule to start their year. They start off against Winnipeg. They play a rested Grey Cup champion Toronto team, and now they get to play a Montreal team that, I get it, they're fresh off a bye, but their only victory so far is against the Ottawa Red Blacks. Hamilton's back at home, getting a really good number here, and everybody in the world is overreacting to Bo Levi Mitchell being out and injured. Where I'm sitting, they're probably better off having Schultz behind center. So I will look towards that. I did want to mention for inside the numbers, looking at some key stuff here with this number with Montreal. The key to the game for them is going to be just controlling the game defensively, not taking too many penalties, and running the ball to the ground. They're a very obvious and predictable offense under Jason Moss when they throw the ball too much. Cody Fajardo, he loves to throw the ball, and I get it, but they have to mix in the run game. And as far as Hamilton's concerned, they got to just not take too many flags, too many penalties. They have to take care of the ball and put Schultz in good positions to succeed. Rob talked about the management, the ownership, and how they're running the team. A lot of flack is going towards the offensive coordinator for Hamilton. They need to simplify their game, and if they can do that, I think they will be successful. But lots of interesting points for both clubs, but I'll go with Hamilton for my extra point here.
All right. I love it, Andrew. And of course, Andrew has a 5% play up this weekend in the CFL, fresh off a 5% winner last week. And you've seen it on the screen. It's been scrolling. Coupon code SAVE20. SAVE20 will get you $20 off that play. So that's a great deal in itself. Knock it down to 15 from 35. And of course, you've seen mine. It might have popped up a couple times, which is Cup 50. A couple big tournaments coming up next month. You get them both in one big package: a Women's World Cup and the inaugural Leagues Cup. All the Mexican club teams, all the MLS club teams in a World Cup style format tournament, and you'll get every single play, future, and prop in that package. Save $50 off the package with the Cup 50 promo code. Okay, Rob, I'm going to throw one last thought at you real quickly before we end this show. There are some, the numbers are. There are some books out there, if you can find them, only if you can find them, that do offer teasers in the CFL. There's a couple north of the border here in Canada, of course. But if you can find them, do you have a teaser bet for us in week 3 of the CFL season? I'm throwing you a curveball.
That's all right. I actually played a few teasers last week, and I won every one of them. And let's talk about the process of teasers. I mean, the old school thinking is you got to cross 3s and 7s, and if you don't cross a 3 or a 7, and a teaser is about the number. It's not about the matchup. It's not about the team. It's not about the players. I think the CFL teasers are quite a bit different than NFL teasers because of the different numbers that the scores can land on. I think 3 is a number, 4 is a number, 6 is a number, 7 is a number. And the more numbers you can cross with a teaser, the better. And the CFL for sure. So what I like to do is I start with the opening lines. I look at the over-unders, and I look at the spreads, and then I figure out the ones I really like, and I watch the line movement. And if the line moves in the right way, then I look at the teaser. BC was close to a teaser. Like I have no problem teasing Toronto. If it gets to 7, down to, you can buy a half a point on teaser, down to half or 1. I think Toronto's going to win the football game, and I believe they're going to win the football game. So if I'm getting an extra 6 or 7 points, I think it's a no-brainer. And we mentioned the Edmonton not being able to score points. So if I'm getting 44.5 teased up to 50, there's no way that game's going over 50 points in my mind. I mean, I might be wrong. I've been wrong before, but I think there's definitely opportunities for teasers in the CFL.
All right. Love it. Andrew, one final word from you before we close off the show as well, too. Anything else going on at WagerTalk this coming weekend? Obviously, your CFL stuff is up. A 5% play is up. Any UFC or anything else you need to touch on?
Yeah, Carm, and I'm going to have a play on the first game of the week, which will be Thursday. So you can get that one for $15 in the CFL. But yeah, we've got UFC pretty much all summer long. I don't think we're going to miss a Saturday for the next 8 weeks. So I cannot wait for that. It's a great time to join me for a 7-day pass. You can grab that as well. Or the full CFL season to get the best number possible. I think we really have to just make this clear. People think we're trying to be salesy here, Carm, but I'm really just trying to get people to get the best number possible. If you want to keep buying each play-by-play, feel free to do so. But join me on my CFL season. DMs are always open at McInnis Picks on Twitter. Ask me questions about the CFL. Ask me questions about our play. And as you know, I'll always answer them and be up to talk to customers. So I can't wait for the week. There's still lots of sports going on, going for my 5th straight MLB team total wager tonight. So it's been a pretty great run.
Yeah, it has 13-6 for you. Run with CFL 5% plays up 29 units. So keep that going, Andrew. And I wish you the best of luck this weekend. Guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next Wednesday to tackle week 4 of the CFL season. For myself, Andrew McInnis, and our insider, Rob Braley, this is 2 and Out. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and good luck with your wagers.